And g'day, I'm David Applegate, author of the book Boyhood of Cade, book 1 of The Empire of Elves, and welcome to Future Fantasy Empire. Today with me is Sho Okumoto, author of Shomo's Mount Fuji Adventure. Sho, introduce yourself to the audience, please.
Hi, my name's Sho Okumoto. I'm Japanese, and I live in New Zealand. And I write mostly crime novels, all based around the Japanese yakuzas. I also write inspirational quote books. I also do graphic novels, which are photocomics. And recently, I started doing illustrations, wordless picture books for children. Yeah, that's my new projects at the moment.
That's brilliant. When did you realize you wanted to be a writer?
Yeah, wow, that would have been 2019, so 4 years ago. It was an interesting year. But I was living in Japan actually at that time, and things were not going well, and I don't know, for some reason I wanted to start writing. And I remember when I was a kid, like my mother used to tell me I should write a book one day, because I used to write quotes onto a piece of paper and just randomly on piece of papers. But I never thought much of it, being an author or writing a book. But 2019, things didn't go as planned, and I was kind of lost. And yeah, I decided to write my first book. I think it was in November. I published my first book, which is a motivational quote book. And that's where it started, my writing journey.
Great. Tell me about your books. Tell me a bit more about
about my books. Yeah, so basically in the beginning, I kind of started writing inspirational quote books, and then I kind of went into more of the fiction. So I started to write novels, and from novels, I transitioned into graphic novels. Which the funny thing is, I didn't have any like tools to make trailers for my books. So I thought, well, what's the next best thing? And graphic novels, I thought, will be the next best thing to kind of like promote my novels. And the speed of my storytelling was quicker than my illustrations. So I was like, well, what's something I can do that'll keep up with my my storytelling? And so that's where photocomics kind of popped up, which is all staged. Everything's staged, and you take photos, and then you make comics. And well, initially I was supposed to publish two, The Yakuza Way and The Chef in the Yakuza. The Chef in the Yakuza got a really nice review. This blogger, she wrote a beautiful review, and she said the only thing the only downside was it wasn't enough story to it. She wanted more story. And I was like, wow, okay. Well, let's kind of push it. Let's kind of jump into the photocomics. So that's where I started doing more photocomics and started to build more story to it. And the biggest one I've published is 387 pages. Is my biggest one. And after that, I started doing illustrations, wordless picture books for children to build their creativity.
Well,
yeah,
you're halfway to a film, because storyboarding is the first. They call it storyboarding in film, and it's the first step.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
First step, yeah, the first step. You're halfway to a film.
That's right.
Yeah,
just need a script.
that's it. Yeah. So, what do you do to prepare when you start? How do you start your first book? How do you sit down and go, right, this is the story I want to tell. What's my preparation?
Yeah. Well, so basically, it's like I think like an inspiration. I think like whether it's from my past experience or like stories that I've heard from my friends, and those are kind of my kind of like gives me that inspiration to write stories. Um, and I don't write down first like what I want to write. I kind of sleep on it. So like I don't know if I start dreaming about it and I start to like get this, I start to like become the part of the story. I get to me that gives me the motivation to write. But if I don't connect with the story, then I kind of don't write about it. So if I get the connection with the story that I'm thinking of, like dreaming about it, and have the perfect connection, then yeah, that's where I start writing my stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously you'd have to do a bit of research. What kind of research have you done for your books?
So the quote books, the quotes, they are basically my experiences through my life. So they take the longest because I write. It's a really time thing, like how I felt thought on that day, and I write a quote. So it's a longer process. But with stories, it's based on my experiences plus stories that my friends or people that I know have told me, and I just make them into fiction, build it into fiction. Characters are fictional. I do research like on the internet. I could, like I can even go to libraries and do some research there as well. But yeah, the core of it is experience, and what I've seen and heard, and that's probably the core of it. Yeah, to get my stories.
You mentioned the Yakuza. Was there any particular Yamagami that particularly stood out for you, or was it more generalized?
You mean like
Social clubs,
the Yakuza?
the Yamagami, the social clubs behind the Yakuza. Their fronts,
So like
basically.
so living in Japan. So I lived in Japan for a long period of time, and it's basically it's like a lot of stories that I've heard like from friends and people that I know, and it really gave me the inspiration. I'm like because a lot like we always kind of see the Italian mafia or the Russians. In the
Yeah,
Yakuza world, you don't really kind of see it in the mainstream. I mean, unless you watch Takeshi films. I think he's the one that
yeah,
kind of brought the Yakuza into the mainstream.
that's
But
it. And I mean, I think most people would know, at least Bad Cop. I think that's one that most people would know.
yeah. So it's like so I think that's where I was like, well, I really want to tell more of the Yakuza, and
Yeah.
kind of like hopefully people will catch on the other countries and stuff, and
Mm,
it's fun. Like even the Hong Kong mafia films.
right.
I mean
Yeah.
the crime film, they're brilliant, and so I think I really wanted to push the Asian I guess culture or crime stuff into the mainstream, but yeah, it's kind
Mm.
of hard. It's
I
how Takeshi did it, but
uh, I think he actually went to Osaka to the Osaka Club, which is
okay,
sort of
yeah,
like, which is sort of like, I think they actually claim to be the largest Yamagami or Rotten Egg Club, as they call it, I believe. The
yeah,
Rotten Egg Club. They boast 138,000 members. It's not
mm,
illegal to be a member of the Accuser.
yeah,
99% of their members are merely what you would call tattooed in.
yeah,
Uh, that is, they wear the tattoos, they participate in the Yakuza Fight Club, but they don't
yes,
participate beyond that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And most
It's
people don't
it's
realize this, but these clubs are now the Yakuza's main source of income, given the high crackdown on crime.
yeah, yeah.
I
It's
mean,
very interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
it's this the one I wrote, I Am Yakuza, is basically a guy that's kind of got recruited into the Yakuza. I think
mm,
that was more the kind of focused on the
yeah,
Yakuza,
yeah,
like a character
yeah,
going into it. The rest of it was more like it's kind of like fictional. It's like I think I
yeah,
didn't really jump into it. But yeah, so the I Am Yakuza was kind of more the, and it's a graphic novel, so like you got
mm,
the images kind of the manga style. I mean, yeah, the manga.
yeah. But the Yakuza probably are still the largest, and then probably the most creative crime organization I've ever studied. You have
Yeah,
organization scams that don't exist anywhere else, like
yeah,
Soapland. Nowhere else in the
mm,
world do you have Soapland. A bathhouse where you get pay somebody to cover you in soap for a happy ending, and yet nowhere else in the world. And the Yakuza can operate these clubs endlessly,
yeah,
semi-legal, and the only thing they have to worry about is not me getting arrested for owning the bathhouse, is the girl
yeah,
getting arrested, and only for one act. And if she gets away with that act, it can't be later prosecuted. You have to be caught in the
yeah,
act. So it's
yeah.
probably endless guaranteed existence for the Yakuza because it's
I
become a
think
cultural
it is
phenomenon.
because like it is kind of similar to the Italian mafia, like how they well organized.
Yeah. No, it was the other way around. Well, both are very old. Both date back
Yeah,
to
very
ancient
old.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But it's such a hot topic for some people, but for others, it is just so fascinating that there is a crime group that can exist and the crime risk isn't theirs. It's like, but of course, there's the protection rackets, there's the darker side of the Yakuza, but on the
yeah,
surface level of the Yakuza, 99% of its members will merely go to jail for assault, and it's usually assaulting each other.
yeah, but yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's usually illegal fighting anyway. They're doing it in illegal fights, and people are betting on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's just amazing
The
stuff,
gambling.
Yeah. Gambling, of course, is gambling and
Yeah,
prostitution are illegal, which are also their biggest source of income,
yeah,
dating back
yeah,
to rolling dice 17 centuries ago, apparently.
yeah, yeah.
But
It's
yeah.
interesting. Like because I was living in Osaka, and
Mm,
a friend of mine, he was like, I want to take you somewhere, and I said to him, I don't want to go to the city, like all the lights and everything. Take me somewhere
yeah,
like rough. And he's like,
yeah,
"Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, take me somewhere like tourists don't even go." And they took me to this city or town in Osaka South, and it's basically where the yakuza actually control. And I was like
it's
amazed.
the
This is
workplace.
literally like you get off the train, and this
Yeah,
is like another world, and it's like
yeah,
wow. It just didn't feel like Osaka anymore, and like it's just, and he showed me the office, the head office of for the yakuza, and this big doberman dog like sitting there. It's like a guard dog, and I was like, wow, and he's just sitting there, and then he'll tell me like all the homeless people and the or jobless people, they'll go to this big courtyard kind of thing, or big area, and they'll stand there at 7 a.m. in the morning, and their hands are up and just basically wanting a job. So the yakuza will have a van, and in front they'll pick people for the day, to give them work. And for the people that don't get a job for that on the day, they just hit the booze, drink sake, and just get drunk. So that it's really cheap in that city. Like you can drink cheap. The places are open from I think about 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, it's just another world.
It is. I've heard of it. Some people refer to it as the birthplace. It's a place where probably most Japanese have either heard of to avoid or go.
Yeah.
But it's a place known to many as a home of the lost generation. After the
Yeah.
economic collapse, so many 18-year-old men with no jobs, no wife, no job, no wife. There's the Yakuza.
Yeah.
and probably at least 500,000 Japanese, with the largest concentration of crime, yet it has one of the lowest murder rates in the world. It's not like Chicago or anything.
It's crazy.
It's not what people expect, and
Yeah.
people will be very disappointed in thinking they're walking into gangland and expect to see a shootout. Because I do believe the Yakuza look down on guns because of the death penalty in Japan is so strictly applied. So the Yakuza take that very seriously, because not just you, the guy who gave you the gun, the guy who gave you the orders, it could go like half a dozen people.
Yeah.
And apparently it's not a very polite execution either.
Yeah. Because like they are very more like a business oriented kind of like building business and like money.
Scamming,
It's
blackmailing, and straight up racketeering. You're going to pay me protection.
Yeah.
But
so it's not really like
it's not like the
shootouts.
mafia. Shootouts. Yeah, it's not it's not the drug industry you're looking for either. But where else? Leading to that, where else do you draw inspiration? I mean, culture is fascinating to draw from, but you mentioned real life experiences.
Yeah. So
you want to tell us some, or 2019?
So people I knew kind of like told me stories, and basically like those are like gave me the inspiration, and I have a friend in law enforcement as well. So like I guess the corruption within the policing as well. It was kind of fascinating, and I wrote a short story. I think it's a novelette. Corrupt cops. I wrote about corrupt cops, and because like like a lot of films, or you always hear about the mafia, the mob, like the gangs and everything, but they don't really talk about the corruption in the police force. And I was like, so my friend told me about the Japan, the corruption in the police, and I was like, wow, it's fascinating. And so basically with that, I kind of wrote about corrupt cops, and I think I wanted to change away from like just talking about gangs or mafia. Like I wanted to talk about this other world, the cops, and how they kind of. So I talk about how they're the biggest gangs in the world, the cops. They can basically hide anything, and so they use their power, and they got a lot of power, the cops. And so I wrote corrupt cops. That was kind of my inspiration. So yeah, it's a lot of things that was I heard and from when I was living in Japan. A lot of stories came in.
There was a story I remember that I read about how in a particular government, they after the war to rebuild, they hired the Yakuza to keep the unions out, because the big corporations were realizing having to give up 20% of their companies to the Americans. They wanted to hide a lot of their wealth, and at the same time, while they wanted to bleed the Americans dry, they at the docks, docking fees, protection money, etc., they couldn't do it directly, so they had to form and then during the 80s with the big corruption scandals, they had to try and uncouple, but they're so coupled, the politicians, the police, the mafia, the big business. And the Yakuza was, because you had the Americans, you had the Japanese, you had the Hong Kong triads, all interlinked with politicians and big business. And the decoupling was such, it took like 12 years of corruption scandals. And now you have in Japan social shaming where even people with tattoos, they're questioned routinely.
Yes.
They can't get public housing. Former criminals have to live in certain districts and not, and there are places they can't go to. They can't go to they can't even leave some places of Osaka to go across town. They have to get permission just to cross town. They can't leave their suburb. The parole in Japan is now so strict, and former Yakuza particularly, they're cut out of so much of society now because they've realized the only way to fight corruption is to make it socially unacceptable.
Yeah. And the funny thing, I was living in Okinawa for a while, and I have heard stories like so like if any members in the Yakuza, if they do something wrong, they don't want to face the consequences. They will run away and go to Okinawa and hide out in Okinawa. And it was fun because in Okinawa you can actually it's comfortable, you can live all year round. It's an island, so you're not gonna hit that cold winter or anything. But the only thing you gotta watch out is the typhoon season. But other than that, apparently there are a lot of Yakuzas that escaped either Osaka or Tokyo and now living in Okinawa, but they're homeless.
They actually, they did a movie about it, sort of documentary. The lost Okinawans. They sit on the beaches and they swap stories, and they pretty much live off the goodwill of doing odd jobs. Doing all the heavy lifting for the fishermen and that, because they have the traditional side of the island and the modernized side of the island. And the traditional side of the island is really fighting a uphill battle against, land taxes and all those things that traditionally they never paid. They were fishermen. They don't bring in a huge income. But society, so it's like trying to be a writer. Being a fisherman in Japan, I think, is like trying to be a writer. I mean, because you just got so much to contend with, and really there are similar experiences around the world. I think there's some good material there. I think, of course, the biggest gang in the world is not so much the police, but the police, military, media complex, how it's all involved. Where 20 years ago, the police were self-contained, but now it's like once upon a time the mafia was part of that, and now it's sort of like they're separate. You've got different gangs because once upon a time the Yakuza could just clean them up, beat them up. Either they join you or go away. But now there's just so many gangs, and the Yakuza's in some parts of Japan are just another gang, whereas it's still the largest in the world, but they're more spread out. Once upon a time there would be like Osaka, a suburb. Everybody in that suburb would be a member.
I really like I think it was in the 70s or 80s. I think it was I watched a documentary in Aussie there was a big corruption in is it in Victoria or Melbourne? I forgot. But in the 70s, 80s,
Melbourne
there was
police.
a big corruption in the police force, and I think it was the detectives that were like the
see, but when they brought in the casino, the Yakuza saw an opportunity, of course, and that is moving money for people who don't want to be known, giving people identities and moving their money for them. And the detectives, of course, involved around the casino would be, and they're only just wrapping it up, believe it or not. It was called the Crown Inquiry, and the Yakuza, the Mafia, the Triads, everybody was just moving money through the docks. the police turning a blind eye, the detectives giving people rides to the casino, people arriving in private planes with false papers straight to the casino. It's just big, you know, the amount, because the casino, you put down 100,000, cash out 80,000, walk out, get back into the plane.
Yeah. Yeah.
There were so many Japanese named Mr. Smith. No, but that's what they were doing, and it's you know, Mr. Smith. There were Japanese, Russians, everybody. You know, there's a lot of inspiration there. You got a lot of work ahead of you.
Yeah.
Of course, see, in my world, the reason why I know so much about it is because I've created a fictional world where there's a fictional Yakuza, but dating back to the sort of like, imagine Japan if the imperial era never ended. So you'd have the emperor as the emperor is head of the Yakuza, that controls everything, whether you're an assassin, a beggar, a thief. It's all controlled. The invisible web of the emperor. Only they're elves, and I mean, elves are a common cultural theme. It's sort of
I was surprised, like you know a lot about the Japanese stuff. I was like, wow.
Because well, the emperor Kade Hashimoto, emperor, is the second emperor of the empire that is over 10,000 years old. Yeah.
That's
of
amazing,
course, because that's just the eastern province. The western provinces, you got the field elves, you have the mountain elves, of course you've got the silver elves who are black with the silver hair, and the night elves who are shorter, and they're also black. But you also got the aquatic elves, they're blue. And see, the aquatic elves date back to the myths of Zealand, which, of course, as you know, is an island in Denmark, which New Zealand is named for because of the Danish explorer who found the northern tip of New Zealand before anybody else and never settled there. But by the time he returned, Cook had done his journey, and then by the time he got an exhibition back, settlers already started arriving. But for some reason, they kept the name that was given of New Zealand.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, you're almost Danish.
Almost Danish, yeah.
It's pretty interesting, actually. Some of the little quirks of history that you could derive inspiration. And I was surprised how many cultures. Well, growing up, I was surprised how many cultures had elves. I was really surprised when I saw the flower elves, which Cade's flower elf, both Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. And then I thought, that was it. And then Malaysian, Singapore, all these little islands, even over to the Philippines, the little people, the hidden people.
Yeah.
Now, it dates back, of course, probably to prehistory and native cultures. And I thought it was such fascinating history that I really became an obsession with elves, and that's how I got to writing about them.
That's cool. That's really cool, yeah. So you do like a lot of research on history, like a lot of history stuff. Yeah.
I sort of got a little bogged down when I was doing my research. I just got to watch this one more movie to beat Takashi. I got to just watch one more movie. 58 to 63 was like his early period, and you wouldn't recognize him today. You know, if you watch an old movie of him and you go, totally different person. But that when he hit that Yakuza period and Bad Cop, I forget what its Japanese name was, but it was released in the West as Bad Cop, and it was remade as Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah.
But it's just such an amazing movie. and it kicked off the whole top-notch scene, and a lot of people just don't know where it came from. It's like, you're wearing a top-notch and you don't know where it came from? But what advice would you give to new writers?
Advice. Wow.
Yeah.
I believe like not just writing, but any creativity is to create from your heart and what you truly believe in. And just go for it. Like just believe with confidence, man, and write what you want to write, and just go for it and never give up, keep doing it, keep pushing forward. Yeah. And yeah, I think like a lot of people kind of fall into a trend. I mean, we see in like music and films, but be original and unique. I think that's kind of important, is being original, unique, and storytell the way you want to storytell it.
In my video blog, I did a piece on how write what you know is bad advice, yet it's the most common advice given. But research, I mean,
Research,
we don't go to when you're not in the accuser, I'm not in the accuser, we're not you're not sitting there watching Mount Fuji and trying to draw it into perfection with one hand or anything. I mean, there are Japanese artists who do that, but be unique, be yourself is absolutely important. But do your research.
Research.
Do your research. Yeah. Now, some people get stressed as they write. I believe, the creative process flows, but of course, and every now and again, people rather call it writer's block. How do you deal with it?
I only experienced that once, like the writer's block. But what I did was I just kept writing. Don't stop writing. What I did was like I kind of went back and kind of like thought about an experience that I had when I was like a teenager or something, and I was like, I found one, and let's make it. Well, it's fiction. I'm writing fiction anyway, so I can just blow that up and make it interesting. So I basically, that little event I had when I was a teenager, I just put that into the my story, and I kept writing. But I think ultimately just keep writing. I think keep writing, like just keep that creativity flow coming out and keep going. And because I think Stephen King said about that, just keep writing, like don't stop. I think he had that.
You're not going to keep everything. Yeah. And I also think he quoted Hemingway about you won't keep everything you write anyway.
Yeah.
Although some people attribute to him, but he was actually quoting Hemingway, and in his tweet he did actually say it was Hemingway. So he's pretty good for that. Now, do you have a favorite writer or a favorite book?
Oh wow. I gotta admit, like I like Roald Dahl because I read all his books when I was a kid. So like I think he really and R.L. Stein, Goosebumps, when that came out, I was like, wow, those are the two. Wow. As a kid, I'm like blown away. Like I kept reading it. It's like
sorry,
I like Goosebumps.
Sorry, your last name may be King, but Stein is the man.
Yeah, R.L. Stein was great. I'm thinking there were like TV shows came out as well off his books.
Goosebumps, yep. Then there's two movies.
Goosebumps. And I think there was a computer game by memory.
Yeah.
It was a
I wish there was more obvious. I wish more adaptations were made. I mean, he was brilliant.
Yeah. But I don't know what happened to him. I was like it was I think it was like
I heard that one of the problems is with R.L. Stein is the horror genre is not very popular with the big studios, and those who do adaptations, they have a cozy deal with Stephen King, so it's very hard for somebody else to get their works done because the studios are so cozy with King, because they
yeah,
got the rights really cheap to his books before his Uber fame.
yeah.
And really, his Uber fame comes from the fact there's so many of his books adapted, but it's because the horror genre is cheap. You know,
Okay.
their budgets are low, their payment to
Yeah,
writers are low, and their production values. If you've seen some of the production values, where if you've seen the Stein adaptations, they're top quality productions.
yeah, yeah.
So there's not many of them. Whereas Stephen King, they're all we rock up to a small town, we shoot it, we go. You know,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it is probably one of the few big productions. But if you've seen the original production of it, it's hardly anything. There's hardly any special
Yeah,
effects.
true.
There's
Yeah.
hardly any scenes that have special effects. Are there other places you draw inspiration from?
Ooh, other places. Hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know. Like, I guess like films. Like, I love watching films.
yeah.
Like a lot of and comics. I hate comics. Comics and films and novels as well. But I think films like I can sit down and just watch it, and I like how the pace of films, how they storytell the films, and how they're able to deliver a story in that short period of time compared to novels. Novels, you can storytell like forever, 1,000 pages, 2,000 if you wanted to. So I think films kind of give me ideas as well, like for my next project and stuff. I think films, yeah.
Yeah. Uh, I think that pretty much covers every genre, doesn't it? I mean, there's a film for everything.
It is like so like that's why like when I was doing the Yakuza, when I was writing Yakuza, like Takeshi was
Top of the
the
list.
best
Yeah.
ones to watch, I guess.
Yeah.
And then the Hong Kong films. I mean, I love Hong Kong films. Like they're brilliant,
Even Jackie Chan, because a
Yeah.
lot of his films involve him getting into trouble with criminals. So
Yes.
criminals, restaurants, and saving the girl. He's he's everything Steven Seagal wanted to be.
That's true. Yeah, Steven Seagal. Yeah. I mean, he was good in was it Under Siege? Under Siege
Yep.
was.
Under Siege was his peak.
Yeah, and then that's kind of I don't know, went kind of weird.
That's a description.
Yeah.
That's the movie version.
Yeah.
That's the movie version of the story. Weird.
Yeah.
Now, I think we've pretty much covered this, but I still want to ask: is there anything you particularly do when you're not writing?
I love like drawing. I think that's
Illustrations,
kind of
yeah.
one of my it's one of my favorites. Like so I think that's part of it. Like why I started doing the Shomo adventures. Like because it's not like a set. This is it kind of thing. It's kind of like you can do so many adventures with. So there's so many titles you can create with what I'm doing at the moment. So like Shomo Adventures is kind of my new hobby. Yeah, I'm creating a lot of adventures for Shomo where he can like so the recent one's Mount Fuji, and the next one's going to be another adventure, and so yeah, it's something that for me it's like I can sit down. It's like meditation for me. I just draw. I can keep drawing, and it's fun, So if I'm not doing that, I like doing outdoor stuff. Definitely,
Funny you mentioned that it's actually like meditation, because if you go to the Shinto, some of the rituals in Shinto actually involve calligraphy,
yeah,
drawing. One of the challenges is to draw a circle.
yes, yes,
And the idea is to actually let go and draw a circle, because you can do it until
yeah,
the pen's in your hand.
yes.
If you've ever tried that, you would
I,
understand it.
yeah, yeah. It's like
Do it
like
with
in
your hand.
Japan, like like the calligraphy, like my mother does it, and I'm like, that is amazing. It's a different type of art, like so when I watch my mother do it, it's just like these lines, like when she writes the characters, it's amazing. And they've even got a big brush, about a human-sized brush,
I've
and
seen
they
it. Yes,
do it. Yeah,
I've seen that
I mean,
brush.
this is amazing,
They dance. They study steps and they dance,
Yeah.
and you can hardly see the movements and the brush, and you're looking down and going, "No, if I did that, it would be chicken feet."
Yeah, chicken feet. But the amazing thing with like the kanji, is that they got, you start from this, like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it's
Yeah.
so you got your steps, but it's just knowing that in your head, like there's steps, I know that, but it's just that brush, and it's just like, I don't know how you do it.
There's a guy who sat down and actually learnt 10,000 kanji and wrote them out blind. And I'm going,
Wow.
no, like, wow. And it's like
Yeah.
the official kanji was written out over, 300 years ago by a blind man, all the symbols in a row. And the emperor just
That's
looked them over
crazy.
and said, this is this one, this one. And it's like pure imagination
Yeah.
from descriptions.
Yeah. That's
The
amazing.
words, the language, and being told the descriptions and the brushstrokes, and he wrote them out. And
Like,
there's every curve, every
it's like
inflection is there.
yeah. The amazing thing, like I remember when I was in Japan, that if you can read the newspaper, you're pretty good. You know a decent amount of kanji, because there's so many kanji. It's just like, so the generation now, most of them, they don't even know a lot of kanji. Now you got phones, so you can just speak, and that's it. You got that kanji, and you do your texting or whatever. But like, that's just,
Yes.
and you go into the Chinese, and it's just,
Yeah.
everything's in kanji. Like Japanese, at least you got the hiragana, katakana, and you got the kanji. But then you go to Chinese, it's just 100% kanji. It's just like,
Oh, you also got the Romai, the Japanese version of the English language, but
yeah, Romaji, yeah, yes.
yeah, Romaji, yeah. But
So it's crazy.
most Japanese don't even use kanji anymore. They stick to what they've learnt in high school. They've
Yes,
they don't.
yeah,
Kanji's more university level.
yeah. Like
Like a
that's
different
what they
world.
were saying.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
like a
sorry.
different world now. Oh, sorry, man. I'm
Yeah,
just saying. When I started researching 4 years ago, and I was looking at it recently, Romanji is becoming more popular now, and kanji is sort of like for the university crowd. It's like that's only 4 years. It's only 4 years, and it's that split between because COVID has such an impact that people don't have the time because they're trying to catch
yeah,
up. Because in Japan, I mean, it's just everybody's playing catch up now, and
yeah,
it's just I feel sorry for the artists because the artists are the first to suffer in as you probably
yeah.
know, in any downturn.
Mm. The kanji,
Thanks for
yeah, it's
coming,
just
and
amazing.
yeah,
Like
yeah, keep going, yeah.
I did a research on languages, and
Yep,
apparently in the CIA said Japanese is the hardest language to learn
she's got
because
so
of
many
the
writing styles.
pronunciation,
Yeah,
and to pronounce the word. And then, yeah, basically it's the hardest language to actually learn and to
because
be
this
fluent
is
in it.
yeah. I remember when they were the difference between early Japanese. A lot of Japanese sit down and watch a movie made in the 50s, and they suddenly notice there are letters that aren't being pronounced because they're not
Mm,
Japanese. Romanji
yeah,
has introduced Romanji started as I think 20 letters, then 22, then 24, then 26. They built up, and that's just
Yeah.
and as Japanese of Japanese simplified, so to speak, what you learn in school has become so popular, and Romanji for basically, if they want to write or type anything, it is so much faster to type.
Yeah, it is.
So
it's interesting, like you're right. When you got the
any
keyboard
job
or
you have to
computer,
translate to English, they'll use Romanji.
yeah, because your keyboard, it's all in English, so it is like they hit it in the Romanji way,
or
and it comes out with the Japanese characters.
Yeah, but you also have the Japanese stroke board, which can only do. Now I forget the name of it. It's what you learn in high school, basically. It's simplified strokes. So you've only got that, where you got the various different components, because and they type that, but anything that's translated in English is going to be on a Romanji board, which only has the alphabetized letters that have the little symbols above them, what they translate to when you put them together. If you do one on its own, it'll be the first symbol. If you put it together with it, you put A and E together, you know what they are. The first, if you put two letters together, it'll be the second one. If you put three letters together, it'll be the third one, and then put four letters together, it'll be the fourth one. There's different keyboards, different methods, but I think Romanji input is starting to take over because of the phone, where you just go,
that's true. Yeah,
I just type the word, and as it starts to come up, and I'll just hit, because I'll recognize it. But I mean, for centuries, I think over the long term, every language is going to be simplified. I mean, you look at English. You've seen a real English dictionary? You think you have? You go to the bookstore, there's the English dictionary. Then you go to, then in high school, you might get one this thick.
Yeah.
Then university, you get one like, this thick. The because there are no synonyms in the proper dictionary. No word is exactly the same as another word. Need to and must are not the same word, but it's just simplifying the language. And
it's crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, you think Japanese is probably where we were centuries ago, where we had lots more words to choose from. And over time, you look at the simplification of Chinese, I think over time they are all going to go the same way. And of course, as writers, we're trying to expand our horizons and use words to describe. And to describe something, you need the nuance, you need the emotion, you need the colors, you need the shapes, the objects, and those. I think it's very difficult to simplify.
It is, yeah. Like even like the films, like I watch the old Japanese films. And it's just like, man, this is like so old school Japanese, and you watch the Japanese films today, and it is simplified. It's kind of like it's more like snap. But the especially like the 50s, the 40s, all those films are just like, wow.
He stares at you for 5 minutes in the rain, and then he says 1,000 words. And every word is delivered in such a thump that he's cutting you piece by piece as he's saying it. He's not cutting you yet. They don't do scenes like that, but they translate it to, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to hurt you bad. I'm going to hurt you really bad. No, it's I'm cutting off the pinky tip. Then I'm cutting off the finger. Then I'm cutting off all your fingers. Then I'm cutting off your hand. Then I'm cutting you at the elbow and the arm. I'm cutting off your balls. I'm cutting off your legs. I am cutting you into every tiny piece. And and the last thing left is I'm going to pluck out your eyeball and eat it. And it's like the proper translation. Oh my God, Beat Takashi, you could play Satan and it wouldn't be called cultural appropriation.
Yes, yeah.
The man is a.
Have you watched his version of Zatoichi? The blind swordsman?
Yes, I know. That's what I'm talking about. Saporoshi, way back the first season, where he's standing in the ring describing how he's going to cut somebody up. They butchered that in the original release in the West because they translate to "I'm going to hurt you bad." But the re-release has a proper translation. It's like, I'm going to eat your eye, man. Yeah, it's like, man, that is like, you wouldn't want to fight the guy after that. You know, it's like, here's my sword, just make it clean. Before we wrap it up, promo your book. You know, to have here's you go. Promo your book, and we'll wrap things up.
Okay. So my latest book is Shomo's Mount Fuji Adventure. It's a worded picture book, and it's basically for children, like to storytell the book in their unique way, and hopefully, you know, like it helps them to get creative, like in storytelling, and just by looking at the images or the illustrations, and it's fun, it's colorful, and it's go grab it on Amazon.
Yep, links will be in the description below. Thank you everybody for coming. I appreciate the likes, the shares, subscribes, and all that other fun stuff. Comments below if you have any questions. And see you next time. Bye now.
See you next time.